Hi everyone, welcome to the webinar. Today I'm going to be going over the 24-25 FAFSA step-by-step guide to help you guys create and submit the form. Now, there's been a lot of issues this year with parents and students filling out the 24-25 FAFSA, mostly because of the fact it's a brand new form, brand new equation, brand new website. Basically, everything's brand new. So I'm going to walk you guys through step-by-step on how to do this correctly so you guys don't have any issues when filling out the FAFSA, because a lot of families have had issues. Now, hopefully this video helps you guys out, and if it does, please leave a like and a comment down below. It does help the channel. Once again, we do use this channel to give out scholarship money, so the proceeds from YouTube go for our organization to help out parents, as well as give out scholarship funds. So if you guys wouldn't mind, down below in the description, we also have our buy us a coffee if you want to help support the channel, allowing us to keep making these college videos for you guys out there. And that being said, let's jump right into the video. Right off the bat, first thing you're gonna need before you even start this whole process is a few items. First, you're gonna need the parent's FAFSA ID, and second, you're gonna need the student's FAFSA ID, as well as the 2022 taxes. Those are the three things you need at least to start this form. Now, if this is the first time you're filling out the FAFSA and your student's a senior in high school or they're in college, it's basically all the same. You're all basically brand new to this form, whether you've done this form in the past for a year or two, or you're doing it for the first time. Since it's a brand new form, brand new website, brand new everything, everyone's starting from scratch, basically. Except for the fact that if you already have an ID, the IDs you had from the year before, the year before that, those are the IDs you keep going with as far as the FAFSA IDs, also known as the FSA IDs. Now, if you don't have IDs, you can go to either one of these two websites, studentaid.gov or FAFSA.gov. Right now, I'm on the FAFSA.gov site. Both of them will basically bring you here to the website you see here. Now, on this website here, if you don't have the IDs, you need to get both IDs before you can even start. And the way to get the IDs is very simple. You go down here to where it says start a new form or existing form. Either one, by the way, they both go to the same page, by the way, no matter what you click on. But we'll click on start a new form. And then once you click on start a new form, the next page is going to automatically ask you, please type in your information, FSA ID, or create one, which I'll show you guys right here. So as you can see, as I pop in here, if I don't have a login, if I don't have an FSA ID for the student and the parent, first thing I need to do, click on down here, create an account. And you must create an account first for the student, then create another account for the parent. So you need two IDs. You need an FSA for the student, FSA for the parent. First two things you need. Now, if you have not done this already, go do that step, basically pause the video, create the two accounts, and then wait 3 business days to come back in and do the FAFSA. Because if you don't wait the 3 business days, it's going to be more difficult to pull in your taxes. And I'll explain that throughout the video of why it's so important to wait the 3 days for your form, for your FSA IDs to be verified by the Social Security Network to make sure they're okay. Now, let's say you're filling out this FAFSA and you're freaking out because it's due today or due tomorrow. And you're thinking, oh no, I got to wait 3 more days. I'm going to be late. You're not going to be late. You can still fill out the FAFSA form even if you create the accounts right now. You can go create the accounts, come back to the FAFSA, but there will be a couple of issues, which I've discussed here in the video, if you got to do this like right now. Because a lot of colleges are saying, get it done tomorrow or get it done today because this is so delayed, the FAFSA. That being said, let's say we have the IDs in place. Let me log in. You guys will do the same thing on your side. Log in using the student's email, username, or cell phone number. Any one of those 3 things can be used. And the student's password. Plug them in. Once you plug them in, press login, and we'll see you guys on the next screen. Now what you guys will notice is once you've logged in using the student's login, by the way, so you're going to log in first as the student, not the parent. That's another error everyone's making. Do not log in as a parent to start with this. That messes up the system. Always start as the student and then basically send an invite to the parent to then have them contribute their portion, which I'll explain as we go through. But first, you always start by using the student's FSA account to log in. Now that I've plugged in the student's FSA account, what you'll see is now asking me to get from the student a code, a 6-digit number from the student. I can either send them a code to their cell phone or send them a code to their email. The email usually takes like 2 or 3 minutes to get there. The cell phone is instantaneous. So I'm going to click on the cell phone number here to send the code to their text, to their cell phone, and then I'm going to wait for the student, basically, who I have with me here, to give me the code. I'm going to plug it in and then press submit. So same thing you guys will be doing. If the student did not provide the cell phone, by the way, you can click the email. It takes a little bit longer, like 2 or 3 minutes. As you see here, the cell phone comes instantly, basically. The student already has it here. But for the email, a few more minutes, but not that big of a deal. If they're not there available to give it to you, you can always call them on their cell phone and get it from them as well to keep moving forward. But you need to do this, or else if you don't plug in the code, you can't move forward. Okay, so I plugged in the code. Student gave me the code. I just plugged it in. I'll press submit. I'll press submit. And the next thing we're going to see here is they're basically going to indicate, okay, you're about to start a federal form. Please understand that we'll be taking information from you, financial stuff, so on and so forth, to basically see if you're eligible for financial assistance of any kind. So we'll click accept, that we are accepting the terms to be able to fill out the form and see if we can get financial assistance. So on the next page here, what we're going to see is it's going to show the student's email, cell phone number, and address that they put into their FSA account to create it. Just double check here to make sure that information is correct. If it is, just go down here, press I agree, and then continue. And then the next page you're going to see is indicating it's already verified, because when you guys created the account, you had to verify the cell phone and the email for the student and the parent when you were creating the parent account. So since it's already been verified, all you have to do now is basically press the continue button. Okay, now that we're in the student's account, this is another place that people are making mistakes. What you want to do here is continue as the student. Do not do the parent part. I've seen errors happen here where the students try to do the parent part. Click on the student part and make sure once again up here it has the student's name. If it does, then click on the student part because you logged in as a student. If you see the parent's name up here, you're in the parent account, which you don't want to do. Always start as a student account. That being said, I click on student, I'll click continue to move on to the next page. Okay, and now on the next page, what's going to have now is we're going to see 4 different videos. Now, each one of these videos have different reasons to be shown to you. If you want to watch them, perfectly fine, just gives you more information. This basically explains what the FAFSA is and how it provides information to the colleges to provide you with federal aid, state aid, and institutional aid. Then the next video, basically the same thing. It's just explaining to you what they mean when they say the term contributor. Now, contributor, when you're in the student section, means if a student has a tax return, they're okaying the U.S. Department of Education to go into the IRS site and pull the student's taxes if they had taxes for the year 2022. You're also doing that as well for the parent side. So they're explaining here, contributor is not just the parent with their taxes, it can also be the student as well. What this video here is basically explaining if you guys want to watch the videos. Then the third video here is basically saying to you guys, explaining the process of how the FAFSA draws in the IRS stuff, how they calculate all the numbers and everything else. Are you eligible for financial aid from a federal, state, or institutional consideration level? So that being said, let's go on to the 4th video here. And the 4th video here is basically explaining what happens after you send the FAFSA form in. So once you send it in, at the end, you should be getting a student aid index number, what used to be known as the expected family contribution number, explaining how much they think you can based on families' income and assets, students and parents, how much they think you can afford to pay towards the cost of college. It also explains here the different steps that will happen after the FAFSA goes in, getting the award letter, and so on and so forth. Now, you can watch these videos if you like. They are somewhat informative to you guys. Obviously, I've been doing this 27 years. I don't have to watch the videos anymore, but it is helpful if you guys watch these videos. They're not that long. They're a few minutes explaining the process so you guys have a better idea of what's going on. That being said, let's press continue. You're going to once again be asked to double check the information. Student's name, their social, their birthday, their address, so on and so forth. Just review, just double check it. In case anything is wrong here or you want to change something like an address, very simple. Click right here to account settings. It'll allow you to go in and change anything here. Whether it's the name, the birthday, the address, etc. You can change all these items. If everything's fine here, then click on the continue button down below. On the next page, it typically, since it already has your address, already indicates the state you're in. So I'm going to put the year this student became a resident and then click on the continue button and see you guys on the next page. And then the next page is what I talked about to you guys before, which is basically the section where it's asking you guys to give consent to be a contributor, both student and parent, to provide tax information. So if you go through this here, it's basically explaining it's going to take the name, the birthday, the social, double check all the information to see if anywhere in the IRS site this person has a tax return. At the bottom here, providing consent and approving for them pulling in your taxes if the student has any taxes in the system. So we'll click on approve, because if you don't, if you click on decline, you're not going to be eligible for aid, at least not any free money. So you can decline this, not provide any tax documentation, but it doesn't make any sense because obviously you're probably here for financial aid consideration on the free money side, the grants and so on and so forth. So we'll click on approve to allow them to be able to pull our taxes in. Now, the next page here is going to ask us personal information about the student. So we'll press continue here. First question, the first section we get to next is they're asking us, what's the student's marital status? Now, if you're able to click off any of these boxes down here for the student, not the parent, if you click on any of these boxes, your student is automatically independent. That's what happens. So the parent's information doesn't count. Now, very unlikely, most students in high school are not married or remarried or separated or widowed. If that is the case, because you're an older student, then obviously you check off any of these boxes, and that would automatically make you an independent student. But since most students are single and never married, check off that box and press continue. And then the next page is going to ask us the status of the student. What year are they going into? What's their situation? Now, most students obviously are going to be checking off first year. Now, if this is the second time you're doing the FAFSA, so the student's already in college, you'll be doing second year. Obviously, they're going into the third year. This is indicating here, by the way, the year they're going to be going into. So if your student is a senior right now, they're going to freshman year. If your student's a freshman in college right now, they're going to sophomore year and vice versa. That addresses these three right here. If your student is going to grad school, you'd be checking off this box right here, which also makes a student independent. Also, if your student does check off this, the bottom box will already be checked off for you. I'll show you guys here. You can see at the bottom, it already turns yes. Now, for me and most students out there, realistically, your student is not a grad student filling this form out. You guys are first year freshmen, so I'll click on that box. And I'll go back down here to fix this because the student doesn't have a bachelor's account yet or bachelor's degree yet if they're going into freshman year or sophomore year or junior or senior year. So then I'll click on the continue box. And on the next page here, we're looking to see if there's any way the student can be deemed independent. Now, the student checks off any of these boxes, such as they've been a veteran of the U.S. forces, or they're in foster care, or were in foster care, or were orphaned, or were awarded the court. If they check off any of these boxes here, other than none of the above, they're independent student automatically. Now, most students don't fall into this category, but if they do, then just understand that going forward, you will only be asked for student information, not parent information. Now, most of the time, most students do not fall into these categories, so we're just going to click on none of these above and click on the continue button down below here. And now some new questions that are in the FAFSA that weren't in the FAFSA before. First thing I'm going to ask is there any possibility this student is homeless or is possibly going to be homeless anytime in the near future? This question here is basically asking because of the fact that if there's a financial situation where if a housing situation might not be there, then a student checks yes, then once again, independent student, parent stuff doesn't count. Now, most students are not in this category, so I'm going to just check off no here and press continue. And then the last student unusual circumstance is this one right here, where if there's a danger to the student, if they try to get the parents' information and the parents not providing it, and it could be dangerous to the student in any way, which basically are each one of these here, dealing with abuse, human trafficking, so on and so forth. If the student qualifies for any of these and says yes, then once again, the student becomes a independent student. Now, this is rare, and you can't just say these things, by the way. You can't just say, okay, we're just going to say, yes, this is happening to get the student to become independent. It's got to be documented. Police reports, court reports, that kind of stuff. So if there is neglect or abuse and there's reports of it through the police or the courts, then they can say yes here, making themselves independent. But what will happen is the school at some point in time will ask for this documentation. Now, most students don't fall into this, so we'll click no and press continue. And then the last part, this is another question that's new to the FAFSA form. If your student is filling out this form and the parent is under no circumstances willing to provide financial circumstances of their taxes or their assets or any of that information, the student can, if they'd like, press yes here. I'm not able to get any information from my parent, but please provide me the federal direct unsubsidized loans only, which means those interests will be growing on those loans. They're not the same as the subsidized loans that students are also eligible for if you do provide parent information and you have financial need. Now, since most parents will be providing information, we will click on no, saying that the parent information will be provided and move on. And now the next section is now going to start asking about parent information. Now, if the parent is married, it's very simple. You just click yes and you go on to continue. If the parent is not married, you click on no. It's going to ask more questions. Right at the bat, it's going to ask, do the parents live together? Now, if the parents are separated and living together, you have to say yes, which means they're going to count both information in many cases. Now, if you indicate no, another question pops up asking who provides the majority of financial support. So wherever student's parent, if you guys are separated, divorced, whoever's providing more financial support for that student, you'll say yes, that's the person's information we're providing. Next question pops up is that parent remarried? So if there's a stepfather, stepmother in the picture, you have to say yes, and you have to provide their information at some point. But let's just say the parents are, just for this scenario, let's say the parents are married. So I'm just going to say yes here. And as you see here, once I say yes, the parents are married, I'll get 2 rows of questions down here. Now, this is another place parents are messing up. This is a section here where they want you to invite a parent to then contribute their FAFSA information, taxes, assets, etc. You do not invite both parents if they're married or remarried. You only invite one parent. That's it. And choose the parent that has the FAFSA ID. That's the one you want to put in this column here and press invite. Do not do both because it messes stuff up. I'm going to fill out this section here with the parent that has the FAFSA ID. That's another key. If you guys are both married, use the parent here who has the FAFSA ID to send the invite. Do not do the other parent because you're going to mess up the form again, which is an error I've seen over and over again this year. So I'm going to plug in the parent's information who's here with me, who has the FAFSA ID, and then click the invite button down here. You'll do the same. And then once I do add their information in, I'm going to press send invite, which is going to send them an email to contribute, and then basically restart the video for you guys and move on to the next part. Once again, do not fill this in. This is the big error parents are making. Do not send two invites and click on the continue button. And now they're going to start asking us some demographic information about the student. So I'll click on continue. This information no longer really matters because before, male students were asked to sign up for selective service if they were 18 years or older. 18 to 35 years of age, by the way. Now, that doesn't matter which one you click on because that no longer is part of the FAFSA. I'll just indicate the student is a female and we'll click on continue. And now these questions about the student's race and ethnicity don't matter towards financial aid, by the way. So it doesn't matter if you click on any of these. I typically just click on prefer not to answer for both. But if you want to click on them to give this U.S. Department of Education statistical information, perfectly fine. It doesn't affect financial aid, by the way. So I'll click on continue to move on. And now here is where we have an interesting thing because there have been some errors, there's been some issues with the form on this specific page. Now, if you click on US citizen or national, you're fine. No issue. Click continue. If you click on eligible non-citizen and you type in an alien number, and I'll just type in any number here basically until it stops me. And if I press continue, an error is happening, unfortunately. Now, if you do get an error when you plug in the alien number and it keeps saying at the top, page is not saving, that basically means the system has an issue. Come back in like 3 or 4 days, it should be fine. If it lets you type it in and go to the next page and there's nothing popping up saying that the site is not saving, then it's fine. This is one of the issues the site's been having. Let's just say, though, we are a U.S. citizen and continue. And then the next question is going to ask about the parent's educational status. You can indicate neither have gone to college, or one of them has gone to college, or both have gone to college, or you don't know. This really has no bearing on most financial aid. This does have some bearing, though, if you have any state programs like EOF or EOP, which many states have, Education Opportunity Fund programs, Education Opportunity programs, where they do assist through the state in giving you more aid. Some of the schools, when they are doing these programs, do want to know, are you a first generational student? So this does affect that. But outside of that, it doesn't affect anything. So for now, we'll just click on both parents went to college because other than specific unique state programs, this has no effect on financial aid. So we'll click continue. Now, for many of you out there, if the parent is not part of the police department, firefighter, or any public service, or has not been in war, you guys will all indicate no here, indicating that you did not pass away in any of these situations after the events of 9/11. Now, if they have passed away in any of these situations and you click yes, that basically makes your student eligible for the Max Pell Grant available. That's typically what happens automatically. Now, since most students don't fall into this category, we're going to say no. But if they do, this will help out on the federal side to give you more aid automatically. And we'll press continue next and go on to the next page. Now, on the next page here, it's going to ask you, what's the student's academic information of high school? Now, many students are going to just click off high school diploma is what they're going to have when they graduate. If they're going through a GED program, or basically a program that allows them to get their high school equivalent, then you'll click on the second one and provide them the information. If you click on homeschool, it just moves us to the next page. It typically doesn't ask us about the high school. But for most of you, we'll click on high school diploma, click continue. It's then going to ask us, where is the high school located? I'm going to indicate the state here, which is New Jersey. So I'll pop in New Jersey here. And by the way, when they pop up the little tabs here, always click on the state. Don't just put it in because it's not going to work. So whatever they pop in, if I put New York and I see New York, click on New York. I'm going to plug in, let's say Summit. There it is, Summit. Click on Summit. And then what you'll notice is any school I plug in, as soon as I have the first 2 or 3 letters, I'll put Summit High School. There it is. So I'll click on Summit and then click here and then press continue. And of course, you guys will do whatever high school your student is attending. Press continue and we'll go to the next page. And then now it's indicating here, it's going to start asking about financial information. So we'll press continue. Basically, it's going to look to draw on the taxes if the student has tax return. Now, typically what will happen next is if you get this question here, it means it can't find a tax return. If it goes to the next page, which basically starts asking about assets, it means it's already drawn in your tax return. There's nothing else to do because you already approved the consent before. But this, let's just say the student doesn't have a tax return. Or if the student just did their IDs the same day you're filling out this form, you're going to get this question too. Because the IDs aren't yet basically checked by the U.S. Department of Education, so they're not going to give you direct access to the IRS. So they're going to want you to basically inform them. So if you click yes, they do have a tax return, and you can press continue. Basically, manual information about the tax return. How did they file? How much they made? What's the adjusted gross income? So on and so forth. All these questions will be asked of you right here. You have to manually put it in. If you just got the ID this day, the day you're filling it out, and because of that, since the form doesn't, since the ID doesn't have time to get processed through the U.S. Department of Education, they typically will ask you to manually put your information in, which you don't want to happen. So let's go back. No, it's going to ask you another question. Do you have a foreign tax return or tax return in any other country? Most students are going to say no, but if you say yes, it's going to ask you those questions again to fill in your information. So we'll click no here and move on to the next page. And once again, as I mentioned before, if you had already given consent and it's been at least 3 days your form and your ID have processed, then automatically you go to this screen instead of the do you have taxes screen, basically. Now here, if your student has a checking or savings account, you put that information here. If your student has any investments, stocks, anything, mutual funds, any of those things outside of retirement, that goes here. If they own a building or land or property, that also goes here, the equity. If your student has started a company and it's worth any kind of money, they must put that value here. So checking, investments, and business accounts. Business now counts, unfortunately. There's no more business exemption for the FAFSA. So I'm going to indicate the student's checking, savings, investments numbers here, and then click continue and move on to the next page with you guys. And now on the next page is now it's going to ask us to now be ready to then start putting in the colleges, where the student's going to college. We'll press continue. And what you'll notice here, a new thing about the FAFSA is it now allows you to put in 20 colleges. Before the limit was 10, now it's 20. So a good thing is you can type in any state and find your school. So I'm just going to put in New Jersey again. And what you'll notice is the city's irrelevant. It's really down here. And once I start typing a school's name in, I'll go with Rutgers. Boom, there it is, very quick. Click on Rutgers, press select, and then what you can do to kind of make this thing a little bit faster is instead of changing the state, I can also add other schools to New Jersey here. And it doesn't matter if I spell it right or not, by the way. As long as I'm close, as you can see, it'll find it. I'll put Ramapo, select it. I'll put Montclair. Or I'll put Monmouth. And once again, I can misspell it as much as I want. If I'm close, there's Monmouth, press select. Once you've added all your schools, press continue and go on to the next page. And what you'll notice on the next page is going to show you all the schools you added to the form. Just double check you have them all. If you're missing any schools, very simple, click down here to send you back to add more colleges. We'll press continue. And then what you'll see the next, after you've plugged in the colleges and gone to the next page, is they're going to ask you to basically review all the information. You can basically go to the bottom of this page. You don't have to review it all because very likely, since we've already gone through this, you've taken your time to make sure everything's correct. So go to the bottom. Then at the bottom, what you're going to see is down here, you're going to see your contributor. This is the person who got the invite indicating for them to basically do their part. And this is where you need to make sure you don't make a mistake because parents are making a mistake. Wait, do not start the parent stuff until you submit the student stuff. Once you press continue here and finish on the next page by signing, then start the parent part because you would have gotten an email to that email you contributed to on the parent side, sending the invite, but don't start it. That's where another issue happens when you guys are starting both forms at the same time. First submit this student part, first submit this student part, then once this is submitted, then start the parent part. So I'll go down here, press continue. So down here, click on this on the little X right here, press the sign, and that's it. Now what you'll see here is you finished the student section. So now what you need to do is we need to do the parent section. So we'll go back up to the top, and what we'll do here is we'll go to the top here, hover over the student's name to bring down the drop down, and click on log out, because we're going to log out of the student, now log into the parent. Now we get the login screen again. Now you want to log in as the parent using the parent's FSA ID. Once again, you need two IDs. Student ID, start the FAFSA. Second, the parent's FAFSA ID to then bring over the parent's information. If you don't have both IDs at this point in time, create the parent ID. And unfortunately, wait the 3 days to make sure the form is fine. If you don't wait the 3 days, there might be some issues. If you do wait the 3 days, there will be no issues. But if you have to get this in immediately, I would submit it no matter what, and then hope nothing happens. So now let's log into the parent side. You guys on your side, plug in your parent information and click on the login button. I'll see you guys on the next page. And now when you click on the login, after you plugged everything in, once again, you're going to get the information explaining we're going on to a government site. You will be providing information, so on and so forth. So we'll click yes. Now what you'll notice is on the next page, typically it's not going to ask you for a code for the parent for whatever reason. But if it does ask you for a code, just send it to the cell phone. Once again, easiest way to get the code. Then you get here. Here it's going to ask the parent the same information to ask the student. Is your email correct? Is your address correct? So on and so forth. If it's not, then once again, just click here to edit that information, change it to what it should be, and then click on I agree down here and the continue button at the bottom. Now, as you can see here, this parent only did the verification of the email. I typically suggest doing the verification of the email and the cell phone number. But that being said, if you don't want to or don't need to, perfectly fine. They only need one form of verification. I would press continue and move forward. Now on the next page, it's going to show you what you've had verified. If you want to verify your cell phone, just click here, type in your cell phone number, it'll send you a code, and then your cell phone will be in the mix that you can utilize the cell phone, the email, or the username you created when you created the account. You can also use what's known as an authenticated app. I don't really like to use that because it's kind of more techie, I guess you can call it. I like to stay with the cell phone, the email, and the username and move forward. So I'm going to just say, yep, you have my contact information. Now, the next thing it's going to give you here is a backup code. This is a brand new thing. So if you don't have access to your cell phone, you don't have access to your email, and you forgot the username, this backup code right here can be used to access your account. So obviously write it down because it's very important. I'll click on here that I've stored it and I have it and move on to the next page. And now what you guys will notice when you guys do get into the actual dashboard is the invitation is there waiting for you. Now, once again, this invitation will not be there in some cases if you mess up by doing the parent side first, which you don't want to do. That's why you always start with the student, complete it, send it in, then start the parent part. So we'll click on view my activity. And here what you'll notice is this is the invitation. So if you decline, that basically means your student won't be eligible for financial aid. So pretty much all of you will click on the accept the invitation. And then we'll say, yep, we're accepting and sharing our information. And once again, just like the student, you'll have the 4 videos as well. I'm just going to click continue because this videos for the student is the same videos for the parent. You can watch them if you like. And of course, I suggest watching the videos either for the student side or the parent side so you have a better idea of kind of what's going on. And now it's going to indicate, once again, the parent's identity information. And so much you to double check it for basically a second time, technically a third time if you just created your account, just to make sure, because once again, we're going to be providing them access to the IRS. So everything we want is to be correct here. If everything here is correct, address, name, birthday, etc., we'll go on and continue. And now we have the parent consent. So this is the part where we talked about before for the student, where we're saying, yes, if you can find our taxes based on our first name, last name, social, and birthday through the IRS site, transfer them over. That's what we're basically saying here. So we're going to go down to the bottom of the consent form here. And just like the student, we'll click on approve to let them transfer that information over. And now we're going to be going over some information about the parent's demographic. So I'll click on the continue button. Now here we have the parent's marital status. Now, obviously you know what the parent status is if you're filling this out. If the parent is single, so basically never married, you click here. If they are married but not separated, so basically means if they've been married the whole time, essentially, you click here. If they're remarried, i.e. a step parent, separated, etc., you just click on the boxes here. So I'm going to click here for remarried for this parent and click on the continue button. And the next thing it's going to ask me is, where does this parent live? So I'm going to indicate here, New Jersey. And once again, as you type it in, click here on their list and then type in the month and year the parent became a resident here in the state that you guys are residents of. So I'll put the month and year here, plug it in, press continue. You guys will do the same on your side. And now it's going to start asking about financial information. So I'll click continue. And this next page is very important from a few perspectives. It's asking us here that if any time during 2022 or 2023, if anyone in the household received any of these benefits. This earned income credit, by the way, is line 27 on your taxes. If you check off this box or any of the other boxes, except for this, free reduced lunch, it automatically basically indicates to the form not to ask you for checking, cash, investments at all. It skips that question. So let's indicate that we don't have any of these items. And we go all the way to the bottom, press none. But of course, if we do have any of these items, you want to check it off. And since we indicated on this form that the parents are married, we'll indicate yes, the parents' spouses are on the form together and click continue. If they're not, obviously you indicate no, but if they are, once again, you press yes. I'll press continue here. Now on the next page here, it's going to ask us what the family size is as far as are you claiming all the dependents? Let me give you an example of what happens here and how you click yes or why you click no. If you have, as a parent, 2 children and they're both on your taxes, you indicate no. If you have, let's say you got remarried or you're divorced or separated and you're filing the taxes and they take one student every year for their taxes and you take the other student, then you would indicate yes if you want to add that other student to your household. So we'll click on the yes. And then I can add that extra student here onto the household. But if they are already on your taxes, then you just indicate no, because it's going to pull it in and basically match up the dependents you have on your taxes. And we'll click continue. And the next thing is asked you is kind of an interesting question. Number in college. And the reason I say it's interesting is because the FAFSA this year no longer counts multiple students in college. So why are they asking if we have multiple students in college? To me, it's very simple. They're using this because going forward, the U.S. Department of Education has told every single college that students and parents are allowed to appeal, and you must review all financial aid appeals, which means one of the appeals you can do, even though the FAFSA was not considering, is having multiple students in college at the same time. So you can indicate a multiple number here over 1, and then they'll see it in the college to then maybe look to appeal later on for additional aid, either from the institution or the state side, because you have more than 1 student in college. Unfortunately, from a federal side, they're not accepting it, but it doesn't mean that the state nor the institution can't look to provide you additional aid because of that multiple student in college situation. And that being said, I'm going to press continue here. And now we get to the grants and scholarship question, as well as any foreign income. Now you can see here, these 2 questions here are a little confusing from this perspective. If you did receive a scholarship, let's say a student got a scholarship to go to college, that amount doesn't go here. What goes here is if you got more than you need. Let me give you an example. School costs $40,000. They give you a $10,000 scholarship. The $10,000 scholarship does not go here. Same scenario. School costs $40,000. They give you $40,000 in scholarship money. Then you won the Coca-Cola scholarship for $20,000. The amount that's over the amount of the cost of college, that $20,000, must go here because you're basically making income. Then you put it here. If you're getting any scholarship money at all, but it's not over the cost of college, you don't put anything here. So most of you will put 0 and 0 for both these items. Now, when it comes to the assets section, obviously put your checking and savings for the parent here. Any investments, any real estate you guys have, anything 529 monies in the parent's name for the principal, for the parent's name being the principal and the beneficiary of the student goes here. If you have a business, any business values must now go here regardless of the amount of employees you have. Now, when it comes to this here, also the child support will also go up top if you are divorced or separated, or even remarried. They are asking the child support question. You plug all these in. That being said, now we'll put in the spouse's information. If you're divorced or separated or widowed, this box won't pop up. What will pop up is the next screen I'll show you guys. But if you are married, basically fill in your spouse's information here. First name, last name, social, birthday, and their email, and then press continue. So I'm going to plug this in and press continue. You guys do the same. Now, once again, we're on the review page. Once again, if you're divorced, separated, or married, or not married or widowed, you bypass the page I just showed you before. You go right from the assets to here. If you indicate earned income credit, Social Security benefits, disability, Medicaid, or any of the other items other than the free reduced lunch, you bypass the assets. And if you're divorced or separated, you go right here. So that's the way this whole process works. Now here, you can just press on continue. Now basically here, we go to the bottom of the page. We click off on the box here indicating we're going to sign, and we do agree that the information we provided is to the best of our ability correct. We'll sign and submit, and you're all done. Your FAFSA form is complete. Now, if you guys have questions or concerns, or you guys need help, you're having issues, at the end of the page here, you can see here, I'm going to put my contact information. I do help out a lot of parents filling out the FAFSA and the CSS. If you have issues or you have concerns or you're worried about how to fill it out and you're not certain you're going to be doing it right, just text me. I do a lot of meetings where I help walk parents through filling out the forms with them. So on the screen now you can see is my contact information. My cell phone number, texting me is the fastest way to reach me. My email, which is the second fastest way to reach me if you need help filling out these forms. Other than that, thank you guys for watching today's video. I definitely appreciate you guys. If you can leave a like and a comment, it definitely helps the channel.